In the spring of 2025, I found this thing at the vegetable market at the east end of the river. On its fuel tank, it said Kawasaki. The important thing is, its engine cover was thick and bulky, and the rear side of the body was lifted up a bit. The tires even looked like track-spec racing tires. But the front fork was broken. I somehow managed to prop it up, then used a forklift to get it loaded back. We just waited. It's 279 kilograms in total. The boss sold it to me for 7 yuan per kilogram. Given that its throttle body is huge and it has racing tires, I think we shouldn't lose money on this one. Once we fix it up, we can sell it to one of your classmates after graduation. We could probably make more than 10,000 yuan in profit. I don't think it's been sitting there for a short time. Just look at the tires. They're covered with large cracks. The rear wheel hub and brake disc were stuck tight. But judging from the engine appearance, it doesn't seem damaged. At least there's no oil leak. The 4 exhaust pipes were all snapped clean off, and I suspect it originally had a catalytic converter. Even the shock absorbers, which were quite good, were cut clean through. Its current condition is even worse than that 750 we brought back before. Anyway, put on your gloves. We've got work to do again.
Such a good shock absorber, and someone sliced it clean through. And look at the handlebars too. They've been bent into an X shape. But none of that matters. As long as this engine can still turn over, I think buying the bike is worth it for us. So right now, everyone's trying to figure out a way to get the engine running. I stripped off the damaged body panels and exposed the side frame. It actually looks pretty straight. It's missing a key, but that's no problem. I know a way to cut it open. If that doesn't work, we can just remove the parts under the key slot and hook it up directly. Listen, if you ever lose your car key in the future, whatever you do, call me and I'll come rescue you. Now let's hook up a battery to this bike and give it power. See if we can get it to run. Honestly, I'm not exaggerating. I've worked on plenty of bikes, but this is the only one that started turning over the moment we gave it power. Now we can move on to fixing its fuel system. This here is the fuel tank. No idea which genius made such a huge hole in it. It's completely beyond repair. I'm guessing the fuel pump might still work though. It looks filthy on the outside, but since it's made of plastic, there's no heavy rust inside. I've got a few other bikes lying around, so we can borrow a fuel tank from one of those 2 on the floor to test this engine. Using my small pan fried bean method of selection, I picked the Suzuki Sun's tank, but the connector doesn't match. So I just hot wired it directly. Let's get it started first. Now we've got both fuel and power connected. Time to try starting it. Wish me luck. Wait a second. This thing's got both fuel and power, so theoretically it should start. But could it be that there's no compression left? If the engine really has no compression, then we've totally lost money on this deal. I pulled out the spark plug and hooked up a compression gauge, tested it twice, and it showed over 7 units of pressure each time, so the problem's not there. Now we can confirm the bike's got fuel and compression. Then I checked the wiring, pulled the spark plug out again, and sure enough, there's no spark at all. Looks like the issue lies somewhere in the electrical system, but that just doesn't add up. I checked the brake cable, the clutch sensor, and the fuses. I even suspected the ECU might be fried. When I went to turn off the ignition and take the ECU out, I noticed the red warning light had been sitting on the whole time. On a whim, I ripped off the instrument cluster, and under it, I found a little key icon. It clicked for me immediately. Does this thing have an immobilizer chip? This bike needs a chipped key to unlock. An ordinary key won't do. Looks like we'll have to pull out our playbook for reprogramming/bypassing it. I used about 2.6 of those reprogramming disks and ended up with a small gadget. Since I didn't have the original key, I removed the ECU and hassled a bunch of people until I found a way to fix the little chip problem. Now, the bike is detecting the chip. If it fires up right away, it'll be the last of the beat-up bikes I've worked on to actually start. Wish me luck! The oil filter on this thing started leaking, and it happened all of a sudden just like that. But it's fine, I thought. I'll just replace it and it'll be good to go. Man, let me tell you secretly, at that moment I was still naive enough to think it was just a bad oil filter. I figured once I swapped it out, everything would be fine. Just from that brief startup just now, the engine burned through nearly a whole liter of oil. I've already ordered new oil, and once I confirm the engine's fine, I'll replace it properly. Now I'm going to try starting it again. Wish me luck one more time. How did it even manage to smash the engine block, too? This bike is really something else, totally beat up. The oil I just added probably leaked out again already. Looking at the side of the engine casing, I can still see the internal parts are mostly intact, but underneath there's a big crack. I only started it twice, not even 6 seconds total, and it sprayed engine oil all over the ground. This bike just refuses to give me a break. I've got a feeling there's more to this story than it seems. I used an AC argon welder to patch up the cracked side cover, then smoothed it out with an angle grinder. After that, I reassembled everything. Hopefully this time it won't mess with us again. I also poured in a second bucket of engine oil. At this point, I still don't really know what condition this engine's in. But one thing's for sure, I've already gone through 2 full buckets of oil on it. I just finished fixing the side that was leaking oil, and now, out of nowhere, it's spraying gasoline from somewhere else. I'm telling you, there's definitely something fishy about this bike. When I first bought it, I already felt something was off. I'd actually planned to rev it hard and blow it out once I got home. But after messing around for a while, I completely forgot about it. Now the situation is just a total mess, like trying to make a donkey pull a horse cart or a horse drag a beach sled. The gas leak is coming from the fuel injector, and when I unplugged the connector, it zapped my hand, even gave me a little jolt. A total loss, but at least it's not leaking anymore. Now the engine's finally sealed. No more oil leaks, no coolant leaks either. So we can start working on the rest of the parts. The first thing that arrived was the main headlight assembly. Then there's this used exhaust pipe, and even a catalytic converter attached to it. I also bought a pair of used shock absorbers. They cleaned me out. The price was insanely high. There's also a used fuel tank. The seller claimed it was original paint, but this orange color doesn't really match my bike. Anyway, we're almost done gathering the parts for the early restoration stage. Next, we can use dry ice to give the underbody a thorough cleaning. Around here, dry ice sells for 6 yuan per kilogram. I bought 30 kilograms of it. This is how it looks after being treated with dry ice. The cleaning effect is honestly amazing. Totally next level. Up to this point, I'd say buying this bike was still worth it. I was planning to strip off the original paint using a stripping machine, but then I suddenly realized that the seller had completely lied. Judging by the fuel tank now, it's got about 7 or 8 layers of paint on it, and each layer is a different color. By the time I sanded it down to this state, I discovered that the tank actually used to be in pretty good shape. But clearly, this tank has its own story. It's been through a lot of sloppy repairs before. Now, I've got no choice but to cut open the bottom of the tank and try to patch it back up properly. After a whole afternoon of work, I finally managed to save this fuel tank. There are still a few tiny dents left, but let's just pretend we don't see them. Then I used a handheld laser welder to reattach the bottom plate. Next comes my usual routine. First, spray on a coat of primer to prevent rust. Then apply a thin layer of filler gray to even out the surface. After that, spray a mid-coat layer to unify the color tone. Finally, we can paint it in your favorite shade of green. Once the paint's done, I'll add a 1-to-1 replica tank decal. Then spray the final clear coat on top. After baking it in the paint booth, the tank comes out looking crystal clear and glossy. With that, most of the parts for this bike are finally ready. Now we can start putting it all back together. Installing the front axle usually requires a special tool. I didn't have one, but I was clever enough to improvise. I welded 2 bolts together, and it worked perfectly as a substitute. I'm a genius. The rear wheel still has a performance slick tire on it. Back in the day, I bet this tire cost over 1,000 yuan, but now it's completely done for. I'll need to replace it with a new one. I've installed the mirrors, and now the bike is officially fully restored. Its weight is definitely more than the 279 kilograms it was when I first bought it. But even if you offered me 7 yuan per kilogram again, I still wouldn't sell it. Because now, this machine can start up perfectly.
Now this big guy is fully restored. It's time for us to take it out for a test ride. And with that, the Kawasaki Z1000. One I bought for 7 yuan per kilogram, weighing over 279 kilograms, is now fully restored. Its legendary power can only be described as explosive. To ride this beast, you'd better have legs made of rebar. Thanks for all your help. Wish you good health and prosperity.